All right, so it's been about 1 year since I put out the first 15-minute dinner video, and in that video I mentioned that I have about 10 go-to meals when I need a quick dinner. But the truth is, being a pro home cook is about showing up day after day to put home-cooked food on the table. And in order to do that successfully and actually stay inspired, well, you need to be able to make those little alterations to keep things interesting. And that's what this video is gonna be all about. I'm bringing you 3 unique dinner options that all come together in under 15 minutes that are all very easy to customize to keep things fresh. And speaking of fresh, we're first gonna take a little field trip to the garden because it is the very end of the season, but the garden is still pumping out a late fall abundance of produce. So I'm gonna rummage around and see what I can collect to use in these 3 meals. First thing I'm gonna get are some carrots right here. I've got some multicolored carrots planted. One of my favorite things ever because the ground is just like a refrigerator and they get sweeter as it gets colder. Over here, you've seen me use this a lot. I've got a bed of some daikon radish. So versatile. I will be fermenting some of this in an upcoming video, but I can use this for a salad now. And then I've got some yummy fennel over here. You can see the tops have gone droopy because it's so cold. The base is still intact and ready to be cooked or used raw. Over here, I've got a lot of baby kale that I'm gonna harvest. That's good for a salad. I also have bigger like kale trees that have basically been growing the whole summer. I think that's good for these beds. Let's head over to the in-ground bed. I planted a bunch of greens. You can see spinach here, lettuce here, and arugula. So right here, I'm gonna harvest some of this baby arugula for a salad. Look at these nice gem lettuces starting to take some frost damage, so I gotta get rid of those. And then finally, my favorite bed of all, the bok choy bed. Oh, this bed just has like 4 different varieties of bok choy. Look at this. Just in this patch, you have the purple, and then right over here, we have some tatsoi growing in like this floret. Amazing. So I'm gonna harvest a bunch of these for a stir fry. I've been eating so much bok choy. If you know how to cook it right, which I'll teach you in a second, it's one of the best stir fry vegetables, and you can find it these days in pretty much every market. That is a fall harvest if I've ever seen it. I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna process all of these, and we'll start cooking up some 15-minute meals. So this first dish is roughly inspired by a chicken milanese, the classic Italian dish from Milan, where you've got a breaded chicken, generally served up with a side salad. And I love the concept of this dish because it's so easy to make, but it's a complete dinner. All you need is a chicken and a salad, and you're good to go. And what I like having at my house is a bunch of sort of single serve pieces of frozen chicken. So if I know I'm gonna need a protein for the next day, I'll just pop that out, throw it in the fridge, and let it defrost overnight. And boom, this nice chicken breast is enough to support a meal. And I'll keep it right in the plastic bag and just pound it out nice and thin like a classic chicken cutlet. Well, we destroyed that bag. We're bursting out of the seams. I'll get that right on a towel to remove any excess moisture. You know what? This is a piece of fat. I'm gonna render that to cook the chicken in. So we're gonna move this to the side and we'll get our burner on because we need to preheat a pan. Of course, you can use non-stick, stainless steel. I've got a carbon steel pan here, which will give us a really nice sear. And right away, like I said, I'm just gonna chop up this extra piece of chicken fat, get that frying. And an additional bonus, remember from the air fryer video, that schmaltz? Chicken fat, we'll get that in there just to help render off that fat. Chicken fat on chicken fat. Now, since this is a 15-minute meal, I don't have time right now to do a traditional 3-part breading. So I'm gonna do a much more simplified version. Add a little bit of flour to a plate. We got chicken spice. My parents were traveling actually in Turkey. They brought me back a spice mix that just said chicken on it. It smells incredible. I've used it before. I'm just gonna hit that in there. So we're already off the Italian wave, but that's fine. Season things however you want. A little bit of salt. Just mix that up. We've got our breading, that a coating. There we go. Now we have a really nice, simply seasoned and breaded chicken. Boom, 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 boom. And we will turn this. And these don't have to be totally rendered off before you start frying because they can continue to render off on the side there while we pop in this chicken on just a nice medium heat. We still have some thickness here, so we don't want to go too high because we want to cook that chicken through and develop a crust. It's all about that balance of heat. And what I love about this meal is now that we're frying here, all we have to do is craft a quick salad. Anything fresh to go on top of this. We're heading over to the fridge. And you know we've got freshies in the garden to at least get started. Definitely salad greens. We can shave in some daikon. We can shave in some carrot. Gotta have a little bit of cheese in there. Oh yeah, we have that baby arugula. Definitely gonna need some citrus. Some fresh apple would be nice in there. That should be good for now. So when I'm building a salad, generally I start off with my base greens. So these bigger greens I'll just rattle through. Give them a rough chop. Got a big old silver bowl, perfect for tossing salad. Now to that, we've got this baby arugula, some baby kale in there. Beautiful. So now you think this carrot is red, but check this out. It's orange underneath. This of course is adding color, it's adding flavor, it's adding crunch, a nice trio. I'm just quickly gonna take the skin off this daikon right into the compost, and now I'll do the same thing. Just peel some slices. Boom. Beautiful things happening in here. Let's check on this chicken though. All right, you can see it does look breaded. Like, look at that. That looks like fried chicken. But I think we need just a little more heat. Micro adjustments. Don't be scared of them. Now, while we have this peeler, I'm just gonna peel in some of this cheese, which is Parmesan. This is actually a 4-year that I get at my local farmer's market. Move that aside. I'll take a little bit of this apple. I don't know what kind it is. I'll just do some really thin slices. Boom. We will check on that. Okay, now we're just about getting there. Beautiful golden brown. And I'm gonna make a dressing. Do not be scared to just dress your salad directly. Lemon juice, a little olive oil, tiny bit of honey. I did find some capers, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of the caper liquid, the brine, and that will be my salt. So I don't need to salt this. And then just a few of the capers, just for that bitter, salty punch. And I think that's the last thing I need. And then just gently toss. Look at this. This is incredible. An extremely fresh little side salad. Wow, I just had a realization. In the first 15-minute meal video that I ever did, one of the dishes was just chicken wings and a side salad, which is the exact same thing as this, just in a slightly different form, which, you know, I'm not always coming up with these super innovative, creative dishes. It's just like keeping things somewhat interesting and not boring. Hit it with that big side salad. Chicken, salad, and it's such a beautiful pairing. That's an everyday dish. Love it. Yeah. So I needed a little break from the recipes to regain some energy, and we just built this beautiful woodshed. Keep that firewood dry. So I gotta fill it up because winter's coming. And while we're out here, I wanted to tell you about a really exciting new brand that we're carrying at the Pro Home Cook Shop called Dead Fish. And if you've been watching the videos recently, you've seen this knife make many appearances because it's quickly becoming one of my go-to all-purpose chef knives in the kitchen. These babies are handcrafted with the best Japanese Damascus and German carbon steel, and they just have a really eye-catching design. I think it's a beautiful balance between a rustic, timeless feel with just that little touch of modern. And right now, exclusively on ProHomeCooks.com, we are offering 25% off all Dead Fish products for the first 100 people who use coupon code DEADFISH25. So click the link below in the description. You can browse all the Dead Fish products. They would also make a great gift for the holidays at their price point. It's just an awesome knife for any Pro Home cooks out there. So check it out. I'm gonna get back to filling this thing up, and I'll meet you inside for the next recipe. All right, so this next dish takes me way back to the foundation of my cooking career. It was actually a high school cooking class. I think it was called International Cooking. It was an elective. And for the final of that class, we actually had the choice to cook anything we wanted from anywhere in the world. And what did I choose? A veggie stir fry. I think I was just starting to get into Asian cuisine, and that just felt like the easiest path to take at the time. But when I think back to the way I cooked it, like everything was just kind of mush, overcooked, super salty, no balance, and I still loved it. I probably cooked that dish thousands of times since that moment, and it never gets old because of course you can customize it, but you can also refine over time as you become a better cook. So this one's inspired by a version that I cooked up recently when I had no time at all, and it just came out so tasty and so satisfying.
So I'm gonna get my rice started right away, and I thought I had some long grain rice, but I'm completely out. So I'm left with this short grain sushi rice that I have in the pantry, which we'll have to do. I'm gonna add 1 cup of rice to a saucepan, and I'll rinse that about 3 times, which generally does the trick to get off that excess starch. And since the rice is now wet from the rinsing, we just need about a 1-to-1 ratio of rice to water. And I'll get that on a high heat, and once that comes to a boil, I'll lower the heat and pop a lid on that and just let that cook for the 15 minutes while I make everything else. So next I'm gonna get a saute pan preheating and start working on my aromatics. I've got some ginger here that I'll slice up and a few cloves of garlic. And then once those are sliced, I'll combine those for a fine dice.
All right, so the pan is preheated here. So I have some residual fat in there from the last one, but I'm just gonna add a little bit more neutral oil, and then I'll go in with all of those beautiful aromatics. And just make sure you're moving this around. You can see I'm getting up those chicken pieces from the last dish. Extra flavor. Turn this down because that's happening quickly. Next ingredient, mushies from the market. We've got some of these little beach style mushrooms, and then these, forget the name, doesn't matter. So I'm coming in with a combo here, just for different texture, different flavor. Just slice that down the center for these like meaty little chunks. And generally when you're stir frying, you should have everything prepared. But when you're making a meal in 15 minutes, you multitask. You can't mise en place. I'm sorry to all the chefs out there, this is chaos. Now we wanna get these in immediately before this garlic and ginger has time to burn. And the reason we fry up the garlic and ginger first is because oil is the best carrier of aromatic flavor. So when you flavor that oil first with the aromatics, that then carries through your entire dish, which is where you get insane, intense garlic ginger flavor. All right, now I'm gonna cut through these mushrooms, and generally if you just cut off the base like that, throw that out, you can just kind of break them up right into the pan. Now we're cooking. Oh yeah. Give your pan a toss. Because I still feel like things are a little bit dry, I'm gonna add a little bit of butter, which is gonna add a ton of flavor and that extra fat that I need. Yeah, now I feel really good about that. Oh, heavenly, heavenly. Just look at all those little crispy ginger and garlic pieces. Now we've got a box of bok choy. What a gift. So I'm gonna go with a few different types. Look at those mushrooms. Now they've broken down, they've browned, still some good fat in the bottom of the pan to fry up this bok choy. You've got this cabbage feeling base and then more of just a, spinach type top. So I like to just cut off that top, that will wilt down, and then just cut up the base a little bit smaller, more into a bite-sized piece that can be managed. And the key is just to stir fry them quick, get some high heat on them, and don't let them get mushy. The longer you cook them, the more they'll turn into mush. Retain the texture of that stem a little bit. All right, and we're going in. I'm past flipping at this point. We need to bring in help. Once they start wilting down, then you're fine. It's just challenging right off the gun. There we go. Look at this beautiful, beautiful combination. Mushrooms and bok choy. Yes. Things are flying out all over the floor. Even that cooked for like a minute and it's still good. Now we just hit it with that vinegar. And we haven't salted this at all, so it could handle a good bit of soy. And then a little bit of cooking wine. Let that reduce for just 15 seconds. And I actually like hitting it with water just to create more sauce. You could put some cornstarch in this if you want it thicker. I'm just gonna taste everything together. That's good. We're gonna cut it. I think we should be, we're like 30 seconds away on this rice. I wanted nice fluffy long grain rice and I got short grain, but it's rice. It's cooked through, it will do. Honestly, even with the filming of this being a little chaotic, I would say the bok choy is slightly overcooked to me. I wouldn't have mind taking it off like 2 minutes earlier. The mushrooms is why this can hold up as a veggie stir fry without anything else. But you could add an egg to that, or of course any protein. It's pretty cool to see, like in one dish that is the same concept, just a veggie stir fry, the difference of 15 years ago compared to this. I was still having fun making food, but it's just cool to see how far my cooking skills have come. So finally, I'm gonna make a pasta. And one thing that I love about home cooking, maybe my favorite part of it, is that you can make whatever you want, things that would never exist in a restaurant. And what I'm gonna try to do is recreate a pasta that I made the other night that had some unique elements because I was just going in my fridge and throwing things together. And it was so delicious to the point where now I'm here trying to recreate that same thing. So let's I think I got most of the stuff. Let's get after it. So the first steps, of course, we are gonna get a pot of water boiling as quickly as possible. I'm just using a bigger size saucepan here, which should get the job done. And then I'll get a wide saute pan with a higher lip preheating. And then I'll work on my base aromatics. I'm gonna be using that fennel from the garden. I'll just slice through that. And this second one's a little bigger, so I'll cut that in half and slice it up. And then 2 cloves of garlic. I'll just slice that up pretty rough. All right, so our pan is now preheated. I'll hit it with some olive oil, and then we'll go in with our aromatics. I'm gonna turn that down. It got a little too hot. And I'm gonna hold off on the salt because I'm just focused on getting some color on this, building some flavor. We'll salt after. Now we've got our beautiful kale. I love leafy greens and pasta, so to take advantage of this boiling water, I'm just gonna blanch that very quickly. Honestly, this will take 20 seconds, maybe 30. Oh, you see how vibrant and green that just got? And that's it. It's gonna wilt down. That's all you need. It's gonna take the bite off of it and just retain that freshness, and we'll get that under cold water to stop the cooking. Dump it out if the water gets hot. Now we're cooled down, just like that. And you got these beautiful greens for your pasta. And then for my actual noodles, I'm using gluten-free noodles, which I use all the time. And the truth is, your GF noodles, I can't believe I just said that, have gotten a lot better over the years, to the point where the texture is pretty spot on. Just give this a stir. And I do eat a lot of bread in my diet, so if I can cut out on wheat, I will. And that's what I'm talking about with home cooking. You can customize these things to your liking. I'll throw that in. You don't quite need the whole box. So this is 12 ounces of penne. I probably used 9 ounces. And it's telling us 9 to 10 minutes, so I'll probably pull it at 8 minutes to cook in the sauce that we're building. We're getting some nice color on these aromatics. Again, quick flavor, but one more thing. I am gonna add some butter, because it's 1, a little dry, 2, more flavor. Butter, butter, butter. And then now we can salt it up. So we've already established some color here. And ideally I would cook those for another 5 minutes, but we don't have that time. Get dinner on the table. So this is where things kind of took a turn. Instead of adding, say, like a white wine, what I had in my fridge was a little bit of chicken stock. I doubt many Italians are adding chicken stock to their pasta. And then canned tomatoes here from our canning project. So that's what I'm going to use, just a little bit. So it's not an intense tomato flavored pasta. Maybe I was inspired by the pasta fagioli that Jim made, where he just added a few tomatoes. He called it adding a little red. I like that. We don't need a full-on red marinara style pasta. We've got a nice balance between the lightness of the chicken stock and the fruity acidic of the tomato. Let's give that a taste, just to say. Just amazing. That is fantastic. It almost tastes like, what are those? A better version of like a SpaghettiOs. Something with the butter, the chicken stock, and the tomato sends me back to childhood. It's hitting the Chef Boyardee flavor. So now this is just gonna reduce, and it's pretty liquidy, which is not a problem because we're gonna take advantage of all that starch in the pasta to thicken this sauce up. And there's only 2 more things I have to do. First is taking these greens. I feel like just these greens, to me, it's not enough veggies in here, not enough bulk. And I know pastas in restaurants are generally mild with the veggies, but I like bulking it up a little bit at home. So I'm using some of these beach style mushrooms that I had left over from the stir fry. I probably would have sauteed them in with the fennel, but they'll be just fine, kind of slowly simmered in here. I'm liking the looks of that. And now I'll take this kale, shred through it. We'll hold off on that till the very end. And then finally, just a little bit of fresh parsley. How funny would it be if this dish actually existed in Italy somewhere? Like the exact combination. Check these noodles, they're looking great. They're just a little bit al dente, a lot of it al dente, which is what I want, because this is so liquidy that we can really cook it in the sauce. Actually, you know what, I'll just pour a little bit of that. Even though they're rice noodles, it's still rice starch. So it's gonna do the same thing as a wheat starch to thicken. We'll add in our kale, and it's still pretty thin right there. You see that? Don't worry, my friends, don't worry. This is where pasta magic happens. It's already a sauce. It took 30 seconds to become a sauce. We'll turn things down just a little bit to preserve all of the freshness of that veggie action. And then finally, one more thing. I have that same cheese from before to finish this off. Get a good bit of that in there. Just gonna creamify the sauce. Also add a nice salt content. Should be good. Parsley, bomb, a little fresh kick at the end. And then we bring this together. Wow.
This is one of those moments when I feel like I just nailed the seasoning. I will add a little bit of cracked pepper, but I feel like the salt without adding additional salt is gonna be perfect. You know what? We're going high risk. I'm just gonna plate it without even tasting it. Now, this is why I eat out on occasion, because it's just very hard to find dishes like this. It came out really nice. The funny thing about this, you're kind of eating a rice bowl in a different form since these are rice noodles. And then what else do you have in here? Vegetables. It's so comforting and so light. That's not an easy balance to strike. Fantastic. I think this is mission accomplished with the goal of 3 meals that I turn to for sure when I just don't want to cook. And I can tell you one thing, I never regret getting in the kitchen and whipping something up. Even if it's kind of underwhelming, it doesn't come out great, I still feel some reward of trying over getting the takeout. And don't get me wrong, I get takeout, but even decent homemade food, a lot of times is gonna be better than takeout anyway. That's it.